Hey everyone, welcome back to WCB Jazz Vinyl. Got a quick update for you today, but an exciting topic. So a few weeks back, I made a video about Resonance Records and their Nat King Cole box set. It was like a 10 LP box set release. So part of the reason, as I explained in that video, part of the reason why I made that is because George Claiborne, who founded Resonance Records, recorded a bunch of the albums that we all love from the 70s, especially on like Strata East and ESP Disc and Impulse and Prestige. Well, he reached out to me, and I was flattered that he reached out to me, saying that he had extra stock of that title. He sent me a copy. And obviously, I was happy to hear the music myself, but also spread the word that they were selling it for significantly less than its market price, right? So that was that video. So guess what? He reached back out this time about an album that I already have because I picked it up on Record Store Day in 2021, and that title is this. It's In Harmony by Roy Hargrove and Mulgrew Miller. So similar to last time, he has discounted it significantly. So the original retail price, according to the price tag that I still have on the shrink right there, is $46. It's a double LP after all, plus it's Record Store Day, so there's always going to be a little bit of a premium. He discounted it to $19.99 plus that 10 off coupon, that promo code that I referenced still works. So that's what I want to talk about. I know I've been doing a lot of modern reviews lately, but I promise I'll be mixing in some more of the vintage pressing kind of vinyl stuff, vinyl collecting topics very soon, but this is what we're going to do today. So hit subscribe if you want to continue to be kept up to speed on this kind of content. You can follow me on Instagram if you want. So actually on this topic, I post stories on Instagram almost every day. They're just like static things. You don't have to listen to me in a video every day. But I post there almost every day with like Amazon deals and other website deals where I find that like a Tone Poet, like almost every day there's a Tone Poet that's discounted to like $20 for like a short period of time. So I'll post that in there. Or did you know that like there's like a Miles Davis Prestige set that's coming out from Kraft that was mistakenly posted at Best Buy today for like $24? If you go over there and check it out, it might still be there. I don't know if they're actually going to sell it for that, but that's they made a mistake. So anyway, if you're the person who wants to know when stuff is discounted, not saying that's my MO, but I do keep an eye on it. So follow me on Instagram. So what this is again is In Harmony, Roy Hargrove and Mulgrew Miller. So originally when this was put out, again, Record Store Day 2021, it was a limited edition of 7,000 copies. Now you all know I talk about Record Store Day releases every year that they come out. 7,000 is actually a pretty wide run. Yeah, I mean, so there have been a number of these releases out there, and yet at the same time, because it's Resonance, who has such a great reputation, and because anytime they put something out for Record Store Day, people gobble it up, it was kind of hard to get. So this title, though, as I mentioned in my intro, it retailed for $46. And I know that at least from where I bought it because mine my outer still has the plastic still has the price tag. The reason why I kept it is because of all these hype stickers, because I kind of like to keep the all those Record Store Day hype stickers. But yeah, so 2021, it's 180 gram. It's a double LP as well, right? So a couple of other particulars about this. It was mastered by Bernie Grunman. It was pressed at RTI. There's a little bit of the hallmarks of a lot of the Resonance releases. What this album is these two musicians in a duet format. So it's just those, because that's the definition of a duet. There's two musicians. This was recorded at Merkin Hall at the Kaufman Music Center in New York in 2006, January 2006, for like half of it. I actually don't know which tracks were a part of which live setting. But anyway, some of the tracks are from January 06, and then the other tracks are from the Williams Center for the Arts at Lafayette College, I think this is in Pennsylvania, in November of 2007. So again, just duet. Roy Hargrove is a trumpet player. I've had the pleasure of seeing him at the Village Vanguard years ago. He's since passed. Mulgrew Miller, I've never seen. He's also since passed. But he's a fantastic piano player, and I think personally that he really bridges like sort of older style of playing. And I don't mean stodgy style. I mean like old school jazz, like kind of like hard bop and even swing era. Like he just embodies a lot of everything that's great from like jazz of the past, but also can play and does play in kind of a modern way. In terms of the content on this, it's all standards except for, I think there's just one original by Roy Hargrove, but there's a couple by Thelonious Monk here. There's a couple by Dizzy Gillespie. And there's, you'd actually be surprised. You're going to recognize a bunch of these tunes, although they're not like, they're certainly not pop-y tunes. To me, they seem like they were probably personal choices from these two musicians. Just because, well, because of the number of trumpeters that are on here, in terms of composers, like Blue Mitchell recorded wrote one of these as well. But it feels like to me that these were personal choices. Now, the other thing noteworthy about this matchup, I don't get the sense that they were like touring together that much. Like, it feels like they came together and played for a couple of these recorded live sessions, but they weren't necessarily, it wasn't like a touring band or something. So I personally find it interesting, but also just extremely impressive that these two amazing musicians could come together and produce such beautiful music. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the music and my general thoughts about this particular pressing, but again, just to kind of lay it out from the outset. So I mentioned it's a double LP, so therefore, well, not necessarily therefore, but in this case, we do have a gatefold. So we've got these great pictures inside, track list on the back. And yeah, it's great. It's great packaging. I mentioned 180 gram. So yeah, the release is super solid. And I just I'm a little jealous because I already have a copy, and the fact that Resonance is reducing it to just $19.99, and that may, by the way, some people mentioned on the last one that was almost like a U.S. only kind of thing. So I actually do think that the Nat King Cole set is available in Europe. And so if anybody is wondering who the distributor is for that, you can let me know. I talked to George Clavin and he said, oh, like you can pass that through and we'll try to let them know where it's released or where it's available. But anyway, $19.99, the coupon code that I mentioned before from Nat King Cole, it goes at least through the end of August. So it's still valid, which means you can get an additional 10% off. I mean, like you need 10% off after it's already reduced by more than 50%, but why not? I mean, it's like at this point, it's an $18 record for a double disc pressed at RTI. So I'm a little jealous because I spent $46 and I waited in line, and I remember this is one of the top titles that I wanted to get in 2021. So yeah, all right. So now you know about where you can get it, and you know what it looks like, and you know who the lineup is. Let's talk about the music. So I put this on as soon as George reached out to me. Excuse me. As soon as George reached out to me, I had to put this on again. It might have been about 6 months since the last time I listened to this music. I have to be honest. I have a lot of records in here. As you can kind of see behind me. So I put this on again, and in some ways, because I knew that I was going to have to talk about it, I listened more carefully, right? Because not all the time, I'm not all the time listening to dissect and analyze. Most of the time I don't do that. I've talked about this. Most of the time I do that only so that I can talk intelligently about it with you. It's not because that's how I process music. I listen to music and enjoy it because I want it to like sort of, envelop me or whatever. So anyway, when I was listening to it this time though, I noticed different things. I felt like in a way that I developed just a refreshed appreciation for just how fantastic this music is. So to give you the lay of the land, it's obviously from 2 live sessions. It definitely has a live feel and a live sound. And what you get from that, you get the positives. I think it's all positives. What you get from a live feel is that there's more like emotional intensity with the music. These musicians are not recording, 3 or 4 different takes of the same thing. It's spontaneous. I think for at least one of these sessions, I was reading the liner notes because all the Resonance stuff comes with like fantastic booklets, and this is no exception. I mean, I say booklet, but you know what I mean. It's like a fold over kind of. I'll pull it out here in just a second. But I want to say that one of these sessions there was like basically no rehearsal time, and so which makes it all the more spontaneous and all the more amazing that that it sounds as good as it does. So this is a ton of text here. So one of the reasons for there being a lot of text is that because both of these musicians have passed since this was put out, there's a lot of retrospective kind of interviews, including with Sonny Rollins, Ron Carter, Christian McBride. Like it's an excellent mix of sort of the masters of the past as well as modern musicians and like their perspectives on these two. Especially Ron Carter's thoughts. It's hysterical because he's basically like, Roy Hargrove was like not at all professional. It's really funny to hear that kind of unfiltered thing. And obviously he talks very, he's very complimentary of Hargrove. He just kind of tells this little story about the first time that he met him that's pretty funny. But yeah, so they came together for this duet performance, not necessarily having rehearsed. It's very spontaneous. And so when you get this live experience, what you're getting is like a lot more intensity, a lot more emotion than if it was a studio thing and they had just been recording the same tracks over and over. Now, the other part of it being a live album and getting that live feel is that you get a lot of room sound, right? Because, these are played in concert halls. And so it isn't that it's echo. What you get is the effect of noise hitting essentially the walls of the room. You also get the audience. And for me, because it doesn't result in any kind of degradation of the actual playing, because it was just recorded so well, it's really, really nice. It really is a great way. It's a great representation of what it would have been like. Not that I was there, but like what it would have been like to actually be there in the room. So I think that I think that it's fantastic to be able to hear this in a live setting, have it be as spontaneous as it is. And you get some other kind of details too, just because this is such a well done recording, right? So Mulgrew, he vocalizes when he's playing, so you definitely hear some of that. Roy Hargrove's trumpet also really gives you a sense of the room because of how sort of punchy and how much it projects. In some of the tracks, you get more of the air from his horn, almost like air is leaking. I actually have a sneaking suspicion that the way to tell between which recording it was, which of the two live sessions, is that one, his tone is like super clean, just like beautiful and like just really rich. And the other one, he lets some air out as he's playing. And it doesn't mean that he's not playing as nicely. It's just that I don't know if, here's the thing, I played trumpet, so I know that on some days you're going to have a little bit more of that air because your embouchure is tired or because any of a variety of reasons. It comes down to like whether you're like hot or like, what's your like respiratory situation. Like there's so many things that go into the sound of the horn. And it gives you just a little bit of a different sense, but it also adds a lot of character because, again, of how well this is recorded. So I don't mean to suggest whatsoever that it's a bad tone. It's simply how he was playing on that day. And it could be, this is my hypothesis. I've not confirmed this with George, or maybe this is me nitpicking really because I play trumpet. So I listen for these things. There's a little bit more air on some of the tracks. My hypothesis is that that's how you differentiate. So overall, what I would say is that the sound quality on this is really fantastic, just independent of it being a live performance. It doesn't sound like a studio, but it's not supposed to sound like a studio. And I think that, that one of the reasons why I love it is because, again, it replicates the live experience. All right, so I'm going to give you some highlights because there's 2 discs here. There's too many tracks to go through. You don't have the patience for it, even though I know I could talk about this stuff all day. So I want to cover a couple of highlights. So let's talk about, I love the opener. I personally think that, hesitate to say like what's my favorite, because I really like the entire package for different reasons. Disc 1 side A for me is a Hargrove feature. Disc 1 side B, I think is that more of the Miller feature? I think it's more of the Miller feature. What I'll say though is, What Is This Thing Called Love opens it, and I think it's a fantastic track, and I think it's a great opener. But and you'll recognize it, even if you don't recognize the name of that track. It's a Cole Porter tune. You'll recognize it when you hear it. All right, so the track This Is Always, so Hargrove on flugelhorn, and here's the thing, like, flugelhorn was played by Freddie Hubbard in the 70s. Art Farmer played a lot of flugelhorn. What it offers here, because it's very similar to the trumpet, but it's also just a different tone. It's like a much darker, but also like warmer tone. When you hear it, you'll be able to pick it out actually from the tracks, like when he's playing trumpet, when he's playing flugel. I think it adds quite a bit to this album as a whole, because one of the things that characterizes a lot of these tracks is how like intimate they feel. There's a lot of like sense of nostalgia. They're not, because it's the duet, you're not going to have Hargrove playing these kind of like Lee Morgan kind of like runs in the upper register and stuff like that. You're getting a lot more nuance with his playing, and it's beautiful across the board. But this is always, track 2 on side 1 is my favorite track on this entire album. Just really nice character to his playing. I think that this is Roy Hargrove at his absolute best. His playing is just so damn beautiful here. And like I said earlier, the first side really is Hargrove features. So track 3 is I Remember Clifford, right, which is a Benny Golson tune, and I think is a very sort of complimentary to having a trumpet play the melody. And I really, really like how tasteful Mulgrew Miller's accompaniment is on these Hargrove features, and I think it's fantastic. So disc 1, side 2 also is fantastic track choice as well. And it starts out with a Joe Beam, is it Joe Beam? I think it's Joe Beam, a piece called Triste. So Triste. So it's one of his tunes. This one is a Mulgrew Miller feature. He plays some sort of like stop time stuff. So because typically what happens, here's the thing. A pianist can accompany a trumpet player when the trumpet player is soloing. A little bit harder to do the opposite, because you don't have like the chords, you don't have kind of the flexibility to do it. If a trumpeter was going to play and accompany a piano player and have it just be them, he'd have to play so soft and very minimal. And so when on some of these piano features, when Mulgrew Miller is soloing, it really is just him. Not across the board, but mostly. And because it's just him, he can kind of do whatever he wants. And so he plays in this very kind of like stop time sort of feel where there isn't a prescribed, in some places it doesn't feel like there's a prescribed tempo. But he's very much in control. It doesn't mean that he's playing just all this like crazy free stuff. It's very thoughtful and very melodic and really, really nice. And actually his extended solo is the bulk of that piece. All right, so I want to close it out by saying that, like, I already had this album. I already liked it, but when I got the news again that Resonance had copies of this that they were going to put out, and I don't know the context. One thing I do know is that there's other titles that they have in the warehouse. So George hasn't told me everything that they have, but they have backstock of just apparently a ton of these record store day kinds of releases, and they're not all on the website right now, but they're going to make them available. And so I'm just I'm obviously very interested in this, because there's a number of these titles that I missed because I couldn't get them and they sold out, or they were prohibitively expensive. Got to be honest, because these are great titles. It's just you can't buy everything. So anyway, I already knew that this was great, and the fact that they're reducing the price to $19.99 for a double LP pressed at RTI and 180 gram and this kind of quality of music, I just think it's exciting, more for you than for me, because I already have this. But obviously I'm excited to talk about it and to kind of revisit it, because again, I was just sort of reminded of all of the excellence that is on this album. All right, so with that, be excited about this release. I think it's great. Go preview it. Go over to Resonance Records and consider picking it up and maybe see what else they have. Use that 10 off coupon, because why not? Why not get the extra 10 off? And yeah, like I said, look forward to some upcoming videos. I've got a lot of exciting stuff, including that Blue Note kind of bulk buy that I've been doing that I think is super exciting. And yeah, I'm going to leave you with that. Thanks very much. See you next time.